Welcome to our deep dive into the dark web, a hidden part of the internet that requires specialized software to access. Today, we'll explore the origins, key technologies, and various activities that take place on the dark web. Buckle up, because we're going deep down the rabbit hole to uncover the truth about this mysterious and often misunderstood part of the digital world. Now, when we talk about the dark web, we got to talk about the marketplaces. These are hidden websites where you can buy just about anything imaginable, legal or not. Drugs are huge on the dark web. We're talking everything from weed and psychedelics to heroin and fentanyl. It's crazy how easy it is to score this stuff online, and it's all because of the anonymity the dark web provides. But it's not just drugs. You can find weapons, counterfeit goods, stolen data, you name it. People are buying and selling illegal firearms, fake passports, credit card information, all kinds of shady stuff. And the scary part is it's incredibly difficult to track these transactions. With cryptocurrencies like Bitcoin being the preferred method of payment, it's like trying to follow a trail of digital breadcrumbs in a hurricane. The anonymity of the dark web makes it a haven for criminals. They can operate without fear of being caught. At least that's what they think. So yeah, the dark web marketplaces are a wild place, man. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're diving into the world of cybercrime. The dark web is like a breeding ground for hackers and all sorts of digital mischief. We're talking malware, ransomware, phishing kits, you name it. These hackers, they're like digital guns for hire, man. They'll take down websites, steal your data, hold your computer hostage for ransom. And the thing is, they're good at what they do. We're talking about some seriously skilled programmers who know how to exploit vulnerabilities in systems. It's like a digital arms race, with the good guys constantly trying to stay one step ahead of the bad guys. Cybercrime is big business, and the dark web is where the money is at. We're talking millions, even billions of dollars changing hands in these shady online deals. So yeah, the dark web is a dangerous place if you don't know what you're doing. Be careful out there, folks. All right, let's talk about money laundering, the art of making dirty money look clean. The dark web is like a laundromat for criminals looking to wash their ill-gotten gains. When you make money illegally, you can't just deposit it in your bank account without raising some eyebrows. So what do? You got to find a way to make that dirty money look like it came from a legitimate source. That's where the dark web comes in, with its anonymous transactions and lack of regulation. It's the perfect place to move money around without anyone being the wiser. They use all sorts of complicated schemes, like transferring money through a series of shell companies or using online gambling sites to disguise the source of the funds. And then there's cryptocurrency, Bitcoin being the most popular. Criminals love it because it allows them to move money around quickly and anonymously, making it almost impossible for law enforcement to track. So yeah, money laundering is a big problem on the dark web. All right, folks, we're about to go deep into some dark territory here. We're talking about the worst of humanity, the exploitation of human beings for profit. Sadly, the dark web provides a platform for these horrific crimes. Human trafficking, the buying and selling of human beings, it's a global problem, and the dark web has made it easier than ever for these criminals to operate. They use hidden websites and encrypted messaging apps to communicate with each other and arrange these transactions. These victims, they're treated like commodities, bought and sold like property. They're subjected to unimaginable horrors, forced into labor, prostitution, all sorts of horrific situations. The dark web has become a haven for these predators, allowing them to connect with each other and share this horrific content anonymously. Law enforcement agencies around the world are working tirelessly to combat these crimes. But it's an uphill battle, and these criminals are constantly finding new ways to operate in the shadows. Let's talk about espionage, the world of spies and secrets. The anonymity provided by the dark web makes it the perfect place for spies to communicate with their handlers without fear of being detected. They use encrypted messaging apps, hidden forums, all sorts of tools to share sensitive information without leaving a trace. And it's not just governments involved in this. We're talking about corporations spying on each other, activists trying to expose corruption, journalists protecting their sources. Whistleblowers, those brave individuals who risk everything to expose wrongdoing. They rely on the dark web to share their information with the world without fear of retaliation. It's a digital safe haven where they can speak truth to power without putting themselves in danger. While the dark web can be used for good, it can also be used for nefarious purposes. It's all about who's using it and for what purpose. Hold on to your hats, folks, because we're about to dive into some dark and disturbing territory. We're talking about extremism, radicalization, and the spread of hate speech online. The dark web, with its anonymity and lack of regulation, has unfortunately become a breeding ground for extremist groups of all stripes. We're talking about terrorists, white supremacists, neo-Nazis, all sorts of hate-filled individuals who use the dark web to spread their poisonous ideologies. They use hidden forums and encrypted messaging apps to connect with each other, share propaganda, and even recruit new members. Law enforcement agencies around the world are working tirelessly to monitor these online activities and disrupt these groups. But it's like playing whack-a-mole, man. It's a constant battle to stay one step ahead of these extremists and prevent them from using the dark web to spread their message of hate and incite violence. Now let's talk about gambling, specifically the kind that happens in the darkest corners of the internet. We're talking about unregulated gambling sites, illegal betting rings, all sorts of high-stakes action happening on the dark web. There's no oversight, no regulation, no one to protect you if things go south. It's a high-risk, high-reward world where fortunes can be won and lost in the blink of an eye. We're talking about everything from online casinos and poker rooms to sports betting and even more obscure forms of gambling. And because it's all happening on the dark web, it's incredibly difficult to track. These sites, they don't have to play by the rules, man. They can rig the games, steal your money, and there's nothing you can do about it. All right, we've talked a lot about the dark side of the dark web, but believe it or not, it's not all doom and gloom. There are actually some legitimate uses for this hidden part of the internet. For example, let's talk about privacy. In an age of mass surveillance and data breaches, many people are turning to the dark web for privacy-focused services. We're talking about encrypted email providers, anonymous browsing tools, all sorts of things that help protect your online identity. Journalists often use the dark web to communicate with confidential sources and protect their identities. Whistleblowers use it to expose corruption and wrongdoing without fear of retaliation. And in some parts of the world where freedom of speech is restricted, the dark web provides a vital platform for dissidents and activists to communicate with each other and share information. So, yeah, while the dark web certainly has its dark side, it's important to remember that it's just a tool. All right, folks, let's talk about politics. Specifically, the kind of political activity that happens in the shadows of the internet. We're talking about political dissidents, activists, and revolutionaries using the dark web to fight for freedom and challenge oppressive regimes. In many parts of the world, speaking out against the government can get you thrown in jail, or worse. But the dark web provides a safe haven for these brave individuals to connect with each other, organize protests, and share information without fear of reprisal. It's like a digital underground railroad, allowing them to bypass censorship, evade surveillance, and communicate freely. They use encrypted messaging apps, hidden forums, and all sorts of tools to stay one step ahead of the authorities. We've seen the power of the dark web in political uprisings around the world. It's a tool that empowers the powerless and gives a voice to the voiceless. There's no denying that it's a powerful force for change in the world today. The dark web is a complex environment with a wide range of activities, from the benign to the highly illegal. Its anonymous nature attracts those looking for privacy, but it also serves as a haven for criminal enterprises. You got to be careful out there, man. It's easy to get in over your head if you don't know what you're doing. Thank you for joining us on this exploration of the dark web. Stay informed and stay safe online.